How to make a canine fursuit tail. So I have some scrap paper that I'm going to sketch out the side profile of the tail, and then I'm going to cut that out. I'm going to continue to trim down the shape of the tail to what I like, and I'm going to draw on the pattern. The tip of the tail is white and a spot. Draw fur direction, and I'm going to label what's going to be what color. I'm going to take my white fur and brush it out, and I'm going to take the pieces of the pattern that are going to be white and I'm going to trace those. I draw it one side and then I flip the pattern over and trace it on the other side, and I add my seam allowance, paying attention to the fur direction. I do the same thing with the white spot. I traced it like that, and then I went back and cut out the little bump there because it's supposed to be asymmetrical. And now I'm going to cut out the fur. And I do that for the other pieces as well. And I'm also going to take the other pattern and trace it onto the brown fur. Trace it one way, and then I flip it over and trace it the other. And I cut it out and I brush it. So I'm going to start with one side of the tail, and I'm going to pin on the white spot onto the brown length of the tail. And I'm going to use a loop stitch and just make my way all the way across. I brush that out, and here I'm actually trying to make the spot have more definition around the edges, so you can see it's kind of fuzzy looking. I'm going to snip away and kind of define the shape a little bit more, where there's more of a distinguished line between the two colors. You have to be very careful doing this to not snip away too much. Now I'm going to pin on the tip of the tail to the rest of it and basically just hand sew that as well with a loop stitch. So this is one side of the tail, and I basically repeat this for the other side. I'm also going to trim up around the transition from the brown and the white. You don't want to cut away too much or it'll look weird. So now that I did the other side of the tail, I'm going to pin them together and just sew it into one long little curvy tube. And I use my sewing machine, make it a lot easier and faster to do this. Now that it's sewn together, I'm going to flip the tube right side out. I'm going to take this paintbrush and kind of like stick it up into the tip to help get the tip to not be still folded up into the tail. I'm going to add a squeaker to the tip, and now I'm going to start filling the tail with some polyfill, and I brush it as I go. And now that I've stuffed it, I do a little bit more trimming between the transition of the colors. Now I'm going to start doing like a little end cap for the base of the tail. I just make sure I shape it to the right size to the opening of the tail. And then I put the foam in, and then I cut out another round piece that's made out of the EVA foam. And now I'm going to use some minky material, cut that out. I'm actually going to double it up to give it a little bit more durability. And do like cross stitching to give it some more durability. This is some elastic that will be added to the tip so that you can put a belt through it. It's just a belt loop. I'm going to sew that across this little pink circle. This is going to be the end cap on the tail where you can have your belt go through that loop. And the EVA foam gives it some sturdiness. I have a little bit of a lip to the minky material so that I can just hand sew that little lip to the brown fur. And I basically just do a ladder stitch all the way around. So I just hand sew it all the way up, and I give it a nice little tie off and brush the end, and that's a finished little waggy doggy tail. I think it's really cute. Give it a good spin. Cute little dog tail with an asymmetrical spot.
Always on my mind.